everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in this third round of classes in this series of Awakening the Multidimensional Mind, Heart, and Body. I am so delighted to be offering this last series, and it's been astounding for me being with the unfolding that's happened throughout the first couple series, and then to see how that has impacted the physical body and deepen my understanding of the relationship between all three. So I am totally delighted and tickled pink to be here with you guys. So thank you so much for joining me. Just very briefly at the beginning of the mind aspect of this series, and often awakening happens first for many people through the mind. When awakening happens through the mind, there's a profound stillness and a resting in which the mind seems to disappear. And the mind can then disappear and rest in the heart, where the heart and the mind are not separate from each other. And with a still, empty mind, invisible, resting in the fullness of your heart, there's a radiance of unconditional love that you always are. And so the mind reflects the emptiness and the stillness, the heart reflects the infinite love. And resting with the still, empty mind in the radiant heart, nestled in the center of your body, then there's a resting in the physical, grounded presence of being. I'm sure all of you have had the experience of being with someone in a room that just drew your attention. Their presence was so strong. They were so grounded and embodied through the substance of this vehicle that attention just was drawn, and you noticed them. And so this grounded gravity of presence is a result of that full, awakened, embodied fullness of being. And all of these vehicles are divine, divine vehicles of love, joy, pleasure, the whole gamut: pain, suffering, delight, evolution, ecstatic wonder. And I would love to support you in this series, supporting you to open through these pathways in yourself, to recognize the infinite within. And resting as the infinite within, there's a recognition that the outside is actually on the inside. And your capacity or conscious capacity of creating becomes evident. And there's not a sense of dichotomy, of separation of the external and the internal. And so in our life, even though I'm speaking in this class about the embodying the physical, because we're not separate, it's more than just embodying your physical body. It's embodying your physical body, and it's embodying all substance. Because as you open and awaken through these layers in yourself and open to these larger dimensional bodies, there's the actual physical sensation, the physical conscious experience of the external being internal. And so the embodiment is then an embodiment of your body, your life, the planet, the cosmos, and beyond. And the microcosmic, all the small layers too. It's all superimposed. So, so life is just an incredible wild ride, and we're going to dive into another layer of this wild ride together. This other piece I'd like to just speak to now is and I can't help but like smile and laugh, just in the speaking to this absurdity in a way, this like brilliant, this brilliant paradox, this brilliant paradox of existence is just mind-blowing. So in the first series I was speaking about the mind and being with the thought patterns and meeting them into their resolution, meeting a thought pattern to its dissolving, meeting a thought pattern with the awareness that the thought pattern arises in stillness, and meeting those layers of I am of the thoughts, and surrendering back in through the infinite I am, and surrendering back in through the infinite I am to not existing, and then opening and discovering oneness in the totality, all arising out of itself in this level of mind. And in this game on the mind, it's easier to see thoughts arising and disappearing, and then seeing patterns arising and patterns disappearing. And we all appreciate when the mind that may have been chattering suddenly becomes quiet and still, and that sense of emptiness and restoration that arises as a result of resting in the nothingness and the stillness. And then we spoke about the heart in the heart series, and meeting emotional content, and meeting that emotional content in the full presence of the moment, and witnessing that when we fully meet an experience, either that is currently being stimulated as a new experience, or whether it's a memory, a reoccurring memory of an experience that just keeps reappearing because it hasn't finished its resolution. So when we're meeting an experience, in that full meeting, the emotional experience also dissolves and returns to nothing. And so life happens, and we have one gorgeous experience after another, revealing gem after gem after gem of divine inspiration, divine evolution, ecstatic embodiment, whether we're conscious of that experience or not. It's what's happening. And so in that series we were addressing this full meeting for the being experience, the emotional experience, to then dissolve or collapse back into a return to nothing. And then when we come to the body, the same thing is actually happening. The same thing is happening. And because our bodies appear to hold their form, we don't recognize necessarily immediately, or even recognize in a lifetime how brilliantly changeable, instantly changeable this is. This form, your body is. And we get to practice through the mental body and the emotional body. We get to practice meeting the experience of nothing, meeting the experience of cessation, meeting the potential fear of annihilation, of dissolving into nothing. And we get to see what happens there, and see the emergence that arises from the complete total surrender into absolute non-existence and nothingness. And in the integration of that, meeting the physical body and the flesh, these larger aspects of consciousness that we are come into ecstatic embodied beingness that our conscious mind, our conscious sense of self as a human being, gets to actually embody and experience and be in the liveliness of. And so this not existing then becomes the fully embodied, like just fully immersed in the appearance and disappearance of the universe here. And so each moment is then a thrilling adventure. I'm having a flash of Helen Keller and something she said, but I can't remember though I can't remember her quotation accurately. But it was something about life being a thrilling, daring adventure, and what else are we here to do other than live it, and to be that living adventure. And so this is what I'm speaking about with the embodiment. And in the embodiment, my experience is the body changes. And the shifts for me years ago, when the awakening was making its way layer after layer through the mental body, emotional body, physical body, and kept cycling through those over and over again. In the earlier stages of that, awakeness started to open up through each of the organs. And so the I am was then experienced as the I am of the organ, of the lens of the liver. And the liver recognized itself as having its own function, purpose, joy, vitality. And this went along through in all the organs in this harmony. And my background in Chinese medicine and Zen Shiatsu was then revealed, its brilliance was revealed through the direct experience of the consciousness of the organs and how they function in relation to each other, and them being the fabric of the divine and having their own consciousness, just as KRISTIN, the sense of self, has its own vehicle of this whole body. The I am of the liver has its vehicle of the liver, and the I am of each cell has its vehicle of the cell, and on and on and on and on. And so in the beginning for me, the surrendering of the I am of the container, that sense of self that seems to be contained, that busted open. And I am was then fluid through all of these aspects of itself that it creates to experience this stunning miracle of being that we all are. We are the full, total embodiment of that on the macrocosm and the microcosm simultaneously. And so whatever you get out of this class, that would just be my wish for you to recognize and to taste that ecstaticness of being, the ecstaticness of life that is always happening. And whether one experiences the macro or the micro and all of those details doesn't really matter, because you are all of it anyway. And this is just to support you opening to the most amazing, satisfying, rich, delicious perfection of yourself that you want to, that you're willing to, that you're ready to, that's perfectly aligned for this moment of your divine sacred journey as you. So let's just take a moment and bring attention to your body. And let's just start with appreciation. Because how often do we offer our body the opposite? A judgment of sensation, appearance, capacity, all sorts of things. So let's just take a moment and start with this deep, deep appreciation for you and for the substance and the consciousness of this vehicle of being that allows you to run around on the planet and play and do whatever you're doing. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and just rest here in our hearts and in our bodies with love and deep appreciation. Thank you. I want to take just a moment to speak about illness and pain, and that everything is consciousness, and everything has a divine unfolding that is astoundingly orchestrated and brilliantly devised, brilliantly designed. And having experienced in this lifetime 7 years of multiple chemical sensitivity that was fairly severe. I couldn't open phone books because of the smell of the ink. I couldn't buy new clothes, have new furniture, be in any place that had been painted within a year. And anything new, right? So 7 years of that, within years afterwards of much smaller intensity of that. And then 7 years of Lyme disease. I couldn't walk a quarter of a mile, sleeping 16, 18 hours a day, exhausted. So number of years of that. Meningitis, dengue fever, thing that no one could figure out, a few years of that. So most of my adult life has been in various stages of chronic and acute illness. And so when I speak about illness, and I'll just speak a little bit at the moment, I'm speaking about it from direct experience. And in each case, there's an absolute, utter perfection to the unfolding and to the perfection of the particular ailment. Again, in mind-blowing, brilliant orchestration. And so when I speak about appreciation of the body, I would also love to encourage possibly a new thought for you, and maybe this is already how you're functioning, but appreciating the whole package, and appreciating the gifts that your body offers you in your journey. And that includes the illnesses, that includes the allergies, that includes the sicknesses, that includes the stubbed toe and broken bone. I'd like to speak a little bit about unpacking. So again, through the mental body, we were, I think I was using the word more unfolding. And I guess I'm using the word unpacking when it comes to the body, because there's a little more density, a little more that sensation, a quality of a little more substance. So the mind and the emotions and the body are all, in my experience, are this stunning weave of creation that speaks back to itself, feeds back to itself, like a feedback loop, communication, exchange that works together in relationship to create your experience of reality, to create the divine's experience of reality. And as we meet each of those vehicles, the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body, as we meet each of those vehicles in its own nature, the weaving that happens can start to loosen. So And so as we're sitting here with this appreciation of the body, I'm aware of the collective of all of us in the healing field today. And I can start to feel different people's experiences as they touch their body in appreciation that way. And I'm starting to see layers of the emotional body starting to rise up in the midst of that. I'm seeing layers of some people feeling grief of some of the pain and difficulty their bodies have had to go through. That's the main one that I started to see. And then a smattering of other kinds of emotional flavors in there. And so the unpacking is just a great way to reference what's happening on the inside with all the movement that wants to happen. When we rest in full presence and meet ourselves, we are made to unfold ourselves in an evolutionary way. Our whole system is designed to have experience, to be in the fullness of it, and for it to be experienced and then return and resolve and dissolve back into nothingness. And so as we just meet ourselves in this container together, in the appreciation of the body naturally starts to unpack the layers of thoughts and emotions that are all woven together, that keep recreating our sense of reality. And so just in this meeting of this container, some of this grief just started to appear and wanted to start releasing. And so in the first two sections of the mind and the heart, those aspects of meeting those moments and being with their unraveling are so useful in this moment as we address the body. Because as we address the physical body in this full presence of love, the storylines through mind and through emotion that haven't returned to nothing start to come forward, because that's their natural trajectory, is to come into existence and appearance, be fully experienced, the treasures fully gleaned, the gems completely revealed, and then to return back to nothing. And so as we meet the body, these layers are going to start unpacking. And if we continue, if we're willing to fully meet whatever arises, whether it's an emotion, a thought, or a physical pain, if we're willing to fully meet that in this moment, its natural evolution is to reveal truth, love, joy, a profound gift, and then return to nothing. It's how we're made. It is how we're made. And it's partly where my joy and delight and laughter comes from in speaking about this, is because we are this living paradox. We are this living mystery of being. And so as we embark upon this time together of being with the body, we'll address the body in lots of ways. And this is just fundamental. It's just fundamental. And the more that we trust this process is natural and innate, then it supports our willingness to be present with any of the physical sensations that start to arise in our experience. So I'll speak a little more again about the illnesses. Everything is consciousness. Your body is the universe's 3D dream. It is consciousness manifesting as this substance. Your mind is consciousness manifesting as that substance. Your emotions, your divine love is consciousness manifesting as that frequency, that substance. And so when you have an issue or an ailment, there's a divine unfolding that's happening. So often in spiritual practices, people are focused on, hightailing it out of here, like getting out of this reality, and we are the reality. You can't get out of yourself. It's you. It's what we are. And so for me, instead of moving away from pain, my instincts became re-educated. And that the wiser movement with pain is to move towards the pain. Because that's why consciousness is creating the pain to begin with, to get your attention, right? It's just to simply get your attention, to look, to focus, to be fully present, to meet, to love, to be, and to unfold. And so this vehicle, this precious, precious divine vehicle of being is with you everywhere you go, right? You can't get away from it. And that's the gift. That's one of the many, 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 many gifts of being, of manifesting in and as a physical body. So I'd like to speak to another component, which is the holographic nature of what we are. And again, I'll preface this with, just because this is my experience doesn't mean it needs to be your experience, right? We all get to have this unique blueprint and this unique vantage point of the totality that we are together. So as oneness, we create these multiple lenses to have different experiences, from, and to have different expressions and different viewpoints. So just because it's my experience does not mean that this is something to aspire to. Right? What is desired is your perfect unfolding, whatever that looks like. And part of my sharing is revealing the map that's present here.